Greetings all. I'm here. Fresh coffee. I'm back. Happy Sunday to everyone, unless you're somewhere where it's not Sunday. What we got going on here? We have a fun show today, or stream. We have a lot to go over. Jeffrey is here. Hello. Bonnie, hello there. Cecil, hello. Good day, Abel. Mike says, hello, I'll be participating from the road as I'm driving back home from a weekend at our mountains at Beaver Lake. Woo, be careful, Mike. Where's everyone from? I am from Ontario, Canada. I am from Port Orange, Florida. Or Daytona Beach, if you're not familiar with Port Orange. South of Boston, Mass. Hey, Dave. Not Top is here from Ohio. We're at in Ohio, Dave. Where? What? Or I mean, you don't have to be super specific, but I have family in the next state over in Indiana, in northeast kind of Indiana, Muncie. Hola, Jeffrey Ramiro. I'm tuning in from from Helsinki. Well, thank you, Ramiro, for tuning in. Period. But from Helsinki, even better. So. It's been a fun week. It's been sort of gathering info and getting excited about. I'm shooting a video for a friend of mine tomorrow. She owns a salon, and we're doing a sort of a get to know us kind of video. Bonnie from Sweden. Bonnie, the deal maker from Sweden. So it's been kind of a busy week for me, and shot a few rolls of film. Got a few rolls of film. My friend from Kodak hooked me up and did me right. Such a good guy. Not that I don't do a lot for them, but I'm in the land of Oz. Dorothy's home. Yes, you are, Michael. You are a Kansas man. Okay. I thought it'd be fun to go over some of the intimate differences between, or comparisons between, Super 8 film and 16 millimeter film, because I actually get that question relatively often from people. I'm starting out in film. Should I just do 16 millimeter, or should I go to Super 8, or even some other crazy format like 35 millimeter? I say no, go to 70 millimeter. Start off with 70 millimeter, and then work your way up all the way up to 8 millimeter. I mean, yeah. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of mess around a little bit with the differences between Super 8 and 16 millimeter, which 16 millimeter, well, both formats have little formats within them, but for all intents and purposes, I want to talk about the true Super 8 and the true 16 millimeter 4x3. Now I want to get into a tiny little bit of, I don't know what that means, but of 35 millimeter. I did a little, I got on Photoshop. It took a couple of days just messing around here and there, and I made a little video, and I drew the film frames to scale, and we got, film size frame comparisons and things. So I put a tiny little video together. It's less than a minute that I'm going to show in a minute. Less than a minute in a minute. That should hopefully better help you understand at least the size comparison differences between 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter, as well as Super 8, Super 16, and 8 millimeter. I do a comparison of all of them. Yes, the slow gratification. There's Travis. How are you, bud? But I'm going to get to that in a few minutes, but I want to talk about some of the biggest differences. Nasser, hello. How are you? Well, thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for popping in onto a live stream. We have a lot of fun. For the most part, we just kind of shoot the film stuff, but I like to start off with a goofy little topic and go from there, and this topic is going to be fun because I have some notes that I want to go over. Hey, it's Russell. Hello, hello. Barry, hello, fellow fans. So here's what's the biggest difference. Sometimes people think the biggest difference between Super 8 and 16 millimeter is cost. Yes, it used to be the biggest difference. It's really not the case so much anymore. 16 millimeter, you forgot your Red Bull. 16 millimeter has kind of, or should I say Super 8, kind of caught up to 16 millimeter to some degree. Now, shooting brand new stock in a professional world, 16 millimeter is still going to be more expensive than Super 8, considerably more. But for the most part, there isn't a humongous gap in cost anymore. There just isn't. Katie, you made it! Woohoo! And I have some prices. Now, I did the most recent stuff that I could research. You know, Super 8 used to be back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. I mean, you could buy a roll of Super 8 for $3 to $5, shoot it, have it processed for about the same, and get it back. And for less than $10, you have your 3 minutes and 25 seconds of film to project. That's not the case anymore, and it was considerably more expensive to do that with 16 millimeter. That's my wife. I like your coffee cup. Thank you. My wife got this coffee cup made for me. You guys have seen it in most every one of my videos. Bonnie, have you seen the new Lego Walt Disney 35mm movie camera launching next week? I have not. Is it made out of Legos? It's not my wife. That must be my daughter. You guys are crazy. I haven't seen that, Bonnie. Is it a real camera? One thing I did see, though, and I sent the link to Travis there, the Celluloid Alchemist, because I was a little confused by it. On eBay, somebody is selling a 35mm, it is 35, right, Travis? 35mm Panavision camera for 75,000 US smackaroos. Now, I used to own stock in Panavision when they were a publicly traded company, and I followed them for many, many years, and to the best of my knowledge, they never were going to ever sell their cameras. They were rentals only. So I don't know how they got a hold of this one. Like Travis told me that maybe it was just a somebody that was well embedded in the company was able to get a, I don't know, floor model or something. It's an oldie. It's a big studio camera. So I don't know, but it's very interesting. Look on eBay, Panavision. Just look up Panavision and then sort by most expensive first, and you'll probably see it. Super 8. What? Somebody texting me? Super 8. So there's all kinds of varieties of Super 8 that we all know about already. We do. These are brand spanking new rolls. You guys know these. And I'm going to go over some of the costs associated with each format. No notifications. Well, you're here now, radios. We all know what this is. This has been around for the last couple years. That's the new Ektachrome 100D. That's a reversal film. This is 500T Vision 3. These are all brand spanking new. I just got them less than a week ago. 500T Vision 3, 50D Vision 3, and Vision 3 200T. This is all of the color stocks that are available for Super 8 from Kodak. They do have one black and white stock, the 7266 Tri-X stock. I don't have that in front of me, but I have some of it. It is Tri-X, right? It's not double X. No, the double X is 7222 16mm. Okay, yeah, Tri-X. Yeah, I know, Katie. I do too. Hey, Christian, thank you for popping in, my friend. So these stocks right here, currently, I had to write them down even though I pretty much know them by heart. If you're in the States, you can buy direct from Kodak. If you buy directly from Kodak, this is $42.99. $31.99 for their Vision stocks. $32 a roll, or $43 for this roll. I know it's a lot higher, and their prices have seemed kind of been going up a little bit. I'm going to send you the 50D footage, and my folks said they would pay. Ooh, okay. Awesome. That's what new stocks cost. Now that's just for the stock. and that's going to run anywhere from 2.5 minutes, depending on your frames per second, 2.5 minutes all the way up to about 3 minutes and 25 seconds, somewhere in that range. 24 frames versus 18 frames per second. So if you're going new stock, that's what you have to choose from Kodak in color. They have one black and white reversal stock also, and that is it. Now there are a couple of other options if you're going to shoot Super 8. There's some Orwo. I think there's some Orwo. There's also some, there may not be Orwo, but there is, somebody help me out. What's the, FOMA. I believe there is some FOMA. Isn't there FOMA Super 8, or is that only 16? I don't know. I'm not overly familiar with most of the Super 8 outside of Kodak's offerings. But then you have stuff like this. Goofy looking stuff like this. Very old roll of 7278. That's Tri-X. A equally old, maybe not quite as old roll of Vision 2 200T. This preceded all the Vision 3 stocks. Then you have your Plus X 7276 and your Plus X 72, no, Plus X. I had the kind of the pinkish purple on top. This is the original Vision 200T stock here. So this, I'm not holding out much hope on this. I've had these for a long time. As you can probably see, they're quite old from the looks of them. This is the other option. And there's black and white options. Like I said, this is black and white, this is black and white, this is color, this is color. Kodak used to have more black and white options in their Super 8 arsenal. Now they're down to the one, but they used to have, I think there was a time where they had 3. They also have a 7256, I believe it is. They had Plus X. Whoa, what am I missing? I have confidence with the 1218 Canon footage with Chinon 133 PXL. I'm not sure. Yeah, I have a 132 PXL, and it's iffy. I think I'll stick with Vision 3 if you just do negative stocks. Yes, I do process this as well, but I may change how I do it. I don't know yet. I don't get enough of it to warrant. The chemicals are expensive, and I don't get enough of it to warrant just doing one roll at a time. Bonnie, FOMA only have 16, standard 8, and double Super 8. Oh, that's what I was afraid of. Okay, thanks for that. I knew somebody would know. I'm new to movie photography. I just got 16mm Keystone A7. Good thing it's a single perf. What is the speed of the shutter at 16 frames per second, please? General rule of thumb, Nasser. It's not always the case. General rule of thumb, double your frames per second. And that will get you very close usually. Close enough typically. So if you're going to shoot at 16 frames per second, I don't know what the shutter angle is on that camera offhand. But if it's a 180-degree shutter, then you would that's when you would double it. So your shutter speed would be 31/32 or 1/32 of a second. And as long as you're within that range, you probably are going to be relatively safe. I'll send Tri-X FPP and Vision 350D to you. Okay, sure. There is Cecil. There was a guy on eBay selling FOMA Super 8 split from double Super 8 and loaded in his Super 8 cart, but I was too chicken. I didn't see it, or I may have got it. I don't know if it was overly expensive, maybe not, but I don't know. So the same cart and 2 cameras. Nothing wrong with that. Fun fact, the Vision stocks are and were made for scanning at the time. Yes, that is correct. Now scanning has become so great that any film stock is fine. My all-time favorite stock is Eastman EXR. It looks so amazing, and I have to almost agree with you. And EXR, what Christian is talking about is the EXR film, which preceded Vision stocks, and it was used largely in the 90s. A lot of television shows were shot on EXR film. A lot of movies were shot on EXR film. And it's beautiful. The colors are just so natural. I have some EXR film. Sadly, it's just so old now that this old color ECN film just didn't hold up too awfully well unless it was frozen, which most of it was not. Bonnie says, think you can shoot Foma Super 8. Reloadable Super 8 cartridges, split the double Super 8 film. Yes, Bonnie, that's exactly what Cecil was just saying. And I have a few of those reloadable Super 8 cartridges. Fun fact for me, I've never tried reloading Super 8, ever. You are welcome, Nasser. Okay, so that's Super 8, that's your options. Now, in this range right here, it used to be you could get these for about $15 a cart on eBay. That's not so much the case anymore, and I'm sure you guys know that because you guys are film nuts like me. And even film that is well beyond its process before date is getting so expensive now. It almost doesn't make sense to buy this old stock when new stock it might only be $5 or $6 more. So I was just showing you that as an option. Most of the older stuff I have, I did get relatively cheap, $10 to $15 a roll, and I have tons and tons of it, so I have to get through some of it. That is an option. That's the options you have for Super 8. Now, for 16 millimeter, you have stuff like this. This is a brand spanking new 16 millimeter film. I can't, for obvious reasons, really let go of that. Wait, go that way. Go that way. Go talk to mommy.
Piper Marie.
My Piper was trying to step in here, but she's missing something. Anyway, sorry, I was interrupted by my little one, Piper. If you guys have little ones, you understand what I'm talking about. She didn't have something on. Oh, Piper. Okay, anyway. Splitters make me nervous. Yeah, I know, Cecil, you and I know. Be cautious. Cecil and I are going through this right now. I'm doing some film scanning for him. Those splitters that split 16 millimeter film into two lengths of 8 millimeter, you got to be careful because, and I've done a lot of it in the past too and noticed the same thing, but they're not always exactly right. And sometimes they start cutting off part of the frame of one of your sides. They leave a lot on one side of your film and they cut off a lot on the other side. So they're not exactly 8 millimeter, might be 9 and 7. So, can you process 3 ISO FPP stocks, black and white? Or by the way, 3 ISO. Is that radios? Is that okay? Come to say hi. Is that weird stock? What do they call it? I have shot some of it. Say hi. That's Piper. You guys know Piper. She likes to jump in and say hi real quick.
I was just texting.
You were, oh, that you and Sissy texting? Okay, that wasn't my wife, that was the crazies. So, yes, the stuff made for titles. Yeah, what is that stuff called? Or what does Mike over at FPP call it? They named it something. I did a video on one of them, it was ISO 25. Sonic, is that right? Sonic? Hello, Piper! I think it's the Sonic film, Sonic 12 and 25 or something. Yeah, the Sun stuff. 72-22 and Sonic 25 is what I mostly shoot. I like Sonic 25 because it's extremely contrasty, and I love contrasty film. I don't know about ISO 3. I'd have to read up on that a little bit. Yeah, Cecil, thank you. I'd have to read up on that a little bit, radios, and find out what the best way to do that would be. These are brand spanking new. You guys have seen that? 100 feet. 400 feet. Brand new from Kodak, $55. Brand new from Kodak, $220. This will, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't write the note, I'm trying to remember. That's about 2.5 minutes, to a little longer, 2 3/4 minutes. This is about 11 running minutes, and that's at 24 frames per second. That's your 16 millimeter options. Now, in 16, they come in, for all intents and purposes, 100 feet and 400 feet is what you're going to be dealing with. They do make larger rolls, 1,000 feet and whatnot. In fact, they even make 800 feet. I used to have the can down there, but 800 foot rolls that I spooled down for a guy once. But for the most part, you're going to be dealing with 100 and 400 foot loads. So 55 and then 4 times as much is going to be 220. For their 100D in the 400 foot load, they're around $300. Nope, 260. Nope. Yeah, 260. And if you get double perf, it's actually more. So for 16 millimeter, single perf is the cheapest option. If you get double perf, which some cameras you have to get double perf, some of the really old 16 millimeter cameras. But oddly enough, double perf is a little bit more with their 100D and the big rolls. That's not the only option. Here we go again with 16 millimeter. You have stuff like this. Yes, that is a recan. That means this was, at some point, this roll of film was in a film magazine. They never shot it, so they took it out of the magazine in a black bag or in a dark room, and they put it back in the can and sealed it and labeled it and printed the date and everything on it. And they do a good job typically. If you're on a real film set, they know what to put on here. And a lot of times they put the date. And this went back in the can in 2000. So this is 23 years old. It's a very, very old stock. But it's an option if you're looking for a way to break into 16 millimeter. This is a also a recan. I don't know, I'm having a brain fart, but also a recan. And I have opened this, and I think I actually did a little test roll of this film, a little test strip, and it was fine. This is a short end. So they'll shoot some of the film in the magazine, and then in the dark, they will unload the exposed film, send it to the lab. The part that wasn't exposed, they will take that out and they'll put it back in the can, and if they never use it, they'll resell it. That's what this is. This is 260 feet of 250D. Really old 250D. I know it says 100T, but that's not what's in there. Typically, at least you used to be able to get this for about half of what you get new stuff for. This is even starting to creep up, which is sad. But another option, and another good way to break into 16 millimeter film. Another good way to break into 16, which I didn't bring one up here, is the magazine film, which it's a little rectangle. You guys have seen them. I've done tons of videos on them. You can buy complete kits from FPP when they have them available. Sometimes they're out. ISO 3-minute beach film is posted on ISO 1 3-minute. Ooh, that would be cool, Barry. I get lost because I look at that and I look at that. But anyway, short ends, recans, older, just expired stock, just stuff that's still brand new but is long beyond its process before date. Those are all options if you're not into buying brand new stock from Kodak. And honestly, look at paying somewhere around half. That's all you should be paying. Seen Sonic both speeds, looks amazing on 16 if you nail the exposure. Yes, it does, Christian. I've never shot the Sonic, the really, really slow stuff, but I have shot 25. 16 millimeter is now the true budget format. I have to agree with that. Imagine a 400-foot standard 8. Yeah, you could shoot forever on that, Bonnie. Yeah, that's good news, radios. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Although I've been able to find 35 millimeter for cheap too, but if it goes really fast. If you get a 100-foot roll of 35 millimeter, what does that last? 30 seconds? I mean, it's not long. 9 hours longer. Some low-budget filmmakers back in the day used short ends. Yes, it was a good way to make indie films, low-budget indie films. Hey, Ken, do you have any camera manuals matching revs per minute with frames per second? I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Ken. Matching revs per minute with frames per second. I don't know what that means. Cameras. Lots and lots of options. Let's go over the frame sizes. You guys want to go over the frame sizes real quick? I know everybody has seen these because you guys are film fanatics like me. I want to show you a very quick video. This video is 50 seconds long. It's something I put together. I drew up these frames in Photoshop. I drew them to scale. And it's a very, very quick breakdown of the formats and the frame sizes and what fits, you know, like in other words, how many frames of regular 8 will fit inside one frame of 35, that kind of thing. I think it has to do with the gear ratio of the camera. Oh, okay, Christian. Yeah, I'm not sure. Ken, I'm sorry. To answer your question, I don't think that I do. The Nagras are very expensive now. Yes, radios. I used to have a Nagra 4, and I loved it, but they're expensive. All right, yeah, grab your popcorn, Jeffrey. It's nothing. Certain exposures. Hey, what's going on? I want to experiment with speed and frames per second. So, okay, so you mean, in other words, like if you just film in 8 frames per second, you're going to have fast motion. Is that what you mean? And if you've like 64 frames per second and you project it back at 18, you're going to have very slow motion. Yes, I would like to do a video on in-camera effects and things like that. That would be kind of fun. Okay, I want to show you guys something. Frame size. All right, here's a very quick, less than a minute. Thank you, Jeffrey. Smash the like button. 100 feet of 35mm lasso over 6. Oh, that's good. All right, here's this little video, and this will explain everything you need to know about frame sizes in my own words, because I'm going to talk over it. This is my rendition of a 35mm frame. I will add 16mm, super 16mm, super 8, and 8mm. There's the frame differences. Let's clear it out. And now here is with 4 of these little 16mm frames that just about fill the 35mm frame. Clear that out. Now, what do we got here? That is super 8. That's almost 16 times as bigger. And there it is with 8mm, 25 times bigger, almost. Now let's go back to 16. Here's your Super 8 inside 16mm. So almost 4 times bigger. And then here it is with regular 8. Well over 4 times bigger than regular 8. You know, that's my goofy little fun animation. So that should help you explain the size difference. Definitely from 8mm to 35mm. I mean, seriously, almost 25 times bigger. That's insane. Yeah, the 2-perf. I didn't do 2-perf there, Barry. That would have been silly, crazy. Yeah. Ooh, I like the. Yeah, well, it's goofy. I know a gadget that can spin at exact RPM. Might be a new way. You mean like crystal? I'm still a little confused, Ken. Are you talking about keeping the camera motor at an exacting speed like a crystal motor would do? I was watching behind the scenes footage of John Waters in 1973 making Female Trouble. He was shooting clear PR. And there was a sound guy with a Nagra. Yeah, that was definitely what they used back then. If I knew how, I would keep those secrets to themselves. People who modify, yeah, keep it to yourself. Does a Euro report work as this reporter, I believe, right? Or the same? I don't know. I don't know much about those radios. Dodge. I got a digital recorder as well. Like a crystal motor, but $8. Oh, wow, Ken. Jump on that. Yes. Now, there are some cameras that keep better constant speeds than others. Sadly, you just have to experiment to figure out which ones those are. I've been pretty successful in syncing audio to just about every camera I own. And none of them are crystal controlled except for a couple of my 16mm ones. Check this out. You guys know I like that. That is my Minolta XL401. This is a prime example of entry to mid to pro level Super 8 camera. That makes sense? It's right in the middle. I guess I should have said that. I did a bunch of research, eBay research, because we all know eBay sets the tone for what real prices are for the used market of anything. And eBay does set the tone for that. As much as I hate to admit, but they do set the prices. Well, the sellers do, but it's on eBay. So I did a bunch of research on eBay, and I have sold and bought on eBay for 26 years now since I've had my account. So I know how to research and find, you know, the past sales, and you look for completed, but you also look for sold, and you also categorize it by certain things, and then you want to itemize it from highest to lowest, and you want to find your center and your median. So anyway, I did a lot of that. The average Super 8 camera goes for anywhere from $80 to $100. That's the average. Now remember, the average is going to fall somewhere in the, you know, they have the Bell & Howells and the Sankyos and the Shinons and that kind of stuff, the Bowers. 80 to 100, that's average. The high end, as we all know, 1,000, 1,500. You get into your Beaulieus and your Lycinas and your high-end Canons and stuff like that. This is going to come to a surprise, as a surprise to you. 16 millimeter, average sold price on eBay, average, is 80 to 100. Wait, I just said that for Super 8. Yeah, I know, but it's also the same for 16. Now, yes, I will agree, a lot of it falls into this category. This is the Mayfair edition, the Keystone Model K55. This is the magazine camera. Takes the little rectangular 50 feet, 16 millimeter magazine, but usually you can pick these up and they come with lenses and they're pretty good condition. They're crank up motors and they run forever. Well, they got to re-crank them, but they don't die for the most part. They will last you for years and years. Also in that category is going to be some of your lower end Bolex cameras, the non-reflexes, a lot of your Bell & Howell, your 70 series cameras, mostly only your 100 foot load cameras, your Keystones, you know, the tall A series Keystones. A lot of that's going to fall into the $80 to $100 range. So yes, you can get into 16 millimeter for just as cheap as you can get into Super 8. Okay, Barry says the celluloid Alchem, most of the original Elmo texts are gone to the studio. Yeah, I know, that's sad, Barry. It's true though. This is Cecil's go-to Super 8. I love this camera. Mine's a little quirky, but I like it. Digital recorder for sound is perfect. Recent BAWs can do insane stuff like time stretching to match dialogue. Plugins can clean camera noise. Yes, they can. I use that. What's that free one? It's a great program, that open source audio program. It's been around for years. Christian, I know you know which one I'm talking about. Saw someone a few months ago offering conversions for H8 cameras. Yeah, I've seen that before, Bonnie. I don't know who's doing it, but I have seen them converting those before. I don't know if they just have to widen the gate or what. Gotta cut corners somewhere. Yes, yes, yes. Audacity, Jeffrey. Yes, it is. Thank you, Mike and Jeffrey. So that's Jesus. Yes, Dave, giving it away to me. Audacity, yep, but it's a little too simple. Is it? Now I don't know audio like you, but I always found it to be pretty intense. Now I also have, well, the original Sony version of, come on, what is it? It came packaged with Vegas. Sony's, Audio Forge something. I can't remember. SoundForge. I had SoundForge. I still have SoundForge, but it's quite old, and I don't know if it's ever been updated. So, but that was an interesting audio program as well. I love my little Tascam recorder. Now mine's a little simple. It just has that 3.5 millimeter plug. It doesn't use the XLR inputs. I do have a big digital recorder with 2 XLRs. And you guys will laugh if I can think of the name, the brand. It's an older brand, but it was very high end at the time. And all the short films I did, we used that actual audio recorder. What is the brand? It'll hit me at some point. The latest Audacity has non-destructive editing, seems to be okay. I didn't think any of it was destructive editing, but I might be wrong, Christian. Why the ortho black and white is larger? I don't know. I think they're making a lot of it right now, Nasser. I think there's a ton of it available right now. I think they're just making a lot of it. It's readily available, but I don't know why it's in larger quantity. I didn't know, honestly, that it was. I'd like to shoot some of it, to be honest with you. I've never shot it. But anyway, you can get cameras like this. This is a $200 camera for the most part on eBay. You guys remember the video I did where it broke down the pricing for the different camera ranges, but this is in the $200 range, so that's in the higher end. 16 millimeter. I asked my wife last night, I said, if I shoot a feature film on film, Super 8 or 16, and of course she gave me her canned answer that she gives me every time I've asked her in the last 22 years, and that's, quit asking that stupid question, you need a story first. So I said, okay, so which format? And she said, doesn't matter, you don't have a story yet. And I said, all right, so which format? And she finally said 16 millimeter. And I think she's right, because if you go through the hassle, I've always wanted to do a film in Super 8, but if you're going to go through, I've done a lot of short film sets, and if you're going to go through the hassle of doing all of the work and all of the days and all of the hours and all of the labor and all of the begging for help and all of the, everything that comes along with it, you don't get too many shots at it. So that might be the right answer. Yes, Christian. Oh, you do have the destructive one. Okay, I didn't know that. I hope I haven't been destroying my audio. I wish there was too, Bonnie. They're very expensive. I don't know if you guys have seen the video recently. Side note, I finally got a Lomo UPB. Woo! Good job, Mike. I don't know if you guys have seen the video, but there's a fella in the Ukraine that built I can't remember his name, but he built a tabletop. I think it's bigger than tabletop. I think it's about 4 feet by 4 feet. Processing machine that I am in love with. But he just posted an updated video with new rollers and whatnot. I have emailed him and he's never gotten back to me because it was something that I put on my wish list. But it is a beautiful machine. It looks just like those Filmco or whatever the big real processing machines are, only it's compact. Has all like 11 or 12 tanks, and it has a rim jet brush in the front and a dryer, and oh, it's gorgeous. Controls. Yes, Christian, we talked about Emil last week, or week before last, and I cannot wait for that to come out. Emil Sean, tire feature film on Super 8 looks amazing, but it's only 50D. It is way too grainy. I love 200 and 500T, but man, is it just too grainy for my taste. You can't beat 50D. Love that film, Matt. Wish I could afford one. Yeah, I know, me too. But it's still, it is neat. It drains the chemicals and it, I think, refills the chemicals, and it's kind of like, it's not a lot different than a manual processor, like a Lomo, except it's doing the spinning and draining for you. And I can't justify that price point. Believe me, I know what it takes to manufacture and to R&D products, so I can't complain about their price, but I can't justify spending that much for a processor that kind of is an automatic manual processor. 44 minutes already? Why do these go so fast? All right, we talked about these little cameras that you can get, and crank up cameras, the Bolex non-reflexes, those are really good entry-level 16mm cameras. The K3s, the Krasnogorsk K3 cameras, they used to be a lot more inexpensive than they are now, but they're still within reach, usually $500 or $600. Really good beginner cameras. Really got to learn how to load them and keep the loops right, or get rid of loop formers. If you get rid of the loop formers, a lot of times you won't lose your loop, but that's for another whole video. So there are a lot of good options under $1,000 in 16mm. There's a lot of good options under $500 in 16mm. There's also top-end 16mm. Top-end can get $5,000 to $15,000. It can go higher than that, but for our purposes, it can go 5 to 15. And when I say 15, I'm talking about like the Aeroflex SR3s and stuff like that. You know, the Aton XTRs. 5,000 range. You know, maybe like the I wouldn't even say the Aeroflex 16BLs, because they're usually a little less than that. You can get, for a couple grand, you can get the 16Ss like I have. You can get the 16M, which is the same as the S, only it only takes magazines. There's a ton of options in 16mm. They're just not as plentiful as Super 8. But there's really no excuse for not testing 16mm, because the costs are not that different. And now let's talk about processing and scanning. Unless you're me, and I process and scan everything myself, up to 100 feet, then you have to have it done by someone outside source. And we're going to talk about that really quick. Still want an IMO in the 1014 XLS version, but I'm trying to say for a new Mac computer, yes. There's always something, radios, always. Mike, do you know how those Super 8 with big magazines used to work, for example? Yes, I do know how they used to work. Ramiro, I have a couple of those. I have some cameras that will shoot those magazines, and I have a couple of those magazines as well with film still in them. What it was, to answer that question, is your Super 8 camera would open on top, and you would snap this magazine in. Basically, you're snapping a film cartridge in, the standard Super 8 cartridge, the same way you would a regular cartridge, only the top of your camera's open, so it would allow, for the magazine to stick up out of the top of the camera. And then you would shoot your, I think it was 200 feet, it wasn't 400, but yeah, 200 feet of film would cycle through your camera, and it would go through the cartridge back up into the magazine. And then you would have to send them to Kodak to get them processed. I can't process 200 feet at a time. And they do not make those today, by the way. Equally expensive. They are equally expensive, Mike. Yes. Both of my shoots last week seemed like it could work out. Yeah, I don't even want to get into the 416, Christian. Those things are ridiculous. Now, because Nasser, you're exactly right. It's everybody wants them now. No cameras until I get that Mac. Don't blame me for the price hikes. Slowly transition to 16. Just makes sense. I love your CP16. They are hard to find on eBay these days. That brings me to the middle grade stuff. CP16. CP16A. Non-reflex. Because I don't have the reflex version, which is the R, where the viewfinder would be built into the side of the camera right here. I regret nothing. Shite happens. Mike, when and if you use 8mm cameras? No, I don't, Jeffrey. But I should. I don't tape them. I do use them, but not very often. I have a couple of the Bolex P series and B series 8mm cameras. Excuse me. And I have used them, and I have not taped them. But maybe you should. It definitely won't hurt. Pale Skinny Bones, how are you? Thank you for popping in. I just bought a CP16 on eBay, and it needs some minor belt repairs for roughly $1,200. Someday I'll take it to White House Audio visual, maybe to fix it. You know what, pesky, or pale, pesky. Old radios love you. The big boy, yes. CP 1,600 pounds of analog mass. Travis, do you see that Pale Skinny Bones question? I wonder if he's having the same problem we had with yours. I will tell you this, Pale Skinny Bones, if it's just the belt that's all ripped to shreds inside there, the one with all the teeth in it, and there's one other belt inside there, well, you will know better than me, maybe, because it's your camera, but the same thing happened to Travis's camera, the Celluloid Alchemist there, and we took it apart at my house here, and we just got the new belts for $100, and we repaired it ourselves. We did also some minor repairs in the handles, some soldering and stuff, and we repaired his camera for all of about $120, I think it was. So don't be afraid to open the side. Nothing's going to fall out. If you email me after the stream, if you feel like it, there's a couple of videos that a guy did, and he shows you exactly how to take the side apart and get to the belts. It's really not hard at all. I want one. Yes, I love this camera. Now, these cameras can be had on eBay for anywhere from, dare I say, $400 up to about $2,500. I know that's a big range, but there's good and there's bad with them. Sometimes you get them and they may not work. Sometimes they don't have batteries and the batteries can be expensive. Sometimes they don't come with a lens or no magazine, or there's belts missing, or like Pale Skinny Bones was saying, there could be something messed up inside. Sometimes they come with everything: charger, 2 batteries, serviced, and those, they're still under $2,500. So, and they have a sync sound motor in them, a motor, crystal motor, I should say, in them, so it runs at perfect sync speeds, so the motor doesn't waver at all, or at least not much. And they're really, really quiet. We should have recorded that process, absolutely. You're saving up to get a Lomo 100-foot tank, Bonnie. Yes, those are not cheap, sadly. Yeah, Dave, that might take a while. It might be easier just to make a list. And found out you can, yeah, we did. You could, yeah. Travis and I, before he got his belt, he brought the camera over, and we put a very large rubber band in there to replace the belt, and it worked. Yeah, the last gear doesn't run properly. I actually tried to take apart screws and it won't open up. Maybe tap. Yes, it's going to be on there tough. It'll be with Travis's camera. I haven't had mine apart. With Travis's, please do this at your own risk. But we had to very carefully. I put a screwdriver, a very tiny screwdriver, and you want to just tap it. You're going to break a seal. There's a little seal in here, and over the last 50 years or 60 years, it sort of just molds itself. The two pieces just mold together. It will come apart, but you also have to be careful because there is a connected piece at the bottom. So when you open it, I'm pretty sure you have to lay it down like this and then disconnect, I believe. Nordic Myth. Thor uses CP16 camera to They are heavy. This one, I think the last time not last time, I think when I weighed it, it was around, I want to say 17 pounds, 18 pounds. I might get an Aerocon, but those are very old. Aerocon has the same movement as these. I had some Aerocon Pro 600 cameras, and they were super quiet, and they record audio, optical audio. Yeah, too bad you can't take the motors out of those and put them in something else. The only place near my house that Vikings used to give. Okay. All right, so this is the upper grade of the middle grade. Does that make sense? Upper middle class, even though I'm low class. All right, let me show you the same grade in Super 8. This is the most expensive Super 8 camera that I own. I think there are some that are probably more expensive than this. I have 3 of these, and I got them really cheap, about $100 a piece, a little more, 120 a piece, and they all work, but they all have something a little bit different that it's quirky about them. Like one of them, the footage counter doesn't work. One of them won't run 18 frames per second. It'll only run 24, which is okay for me. And then the other one, the battery tester doesn't work. So they're all, you know, all of the light meters work. So they all have their kind of their own quirks. And they're all going to be off a little bit. They're all going to have some probably different types of focusing issues and maybe metering issues, a half a stop up or down here or there. Luckily, these are all auto and manual exposure. But I would say this is the top end of the Super 8 realm. These now in perfect working condition, blemish free, perfect lenses. Expect to pay around $1,000 for them. Probably about the same price that you would pay for a really good working Boo 4008. I like the 5008 look better. I think the 4008 are more popular because they're silent film cameras, and the 5008s are sound, I believe. And sometimes the sound module can mess things up in there. It's just another motor in there to sort of mess things up. A backup for our backup, Dave. Hey, Steven, thank you for popping in. Everybody say hi to Steven there, a New World Film. Vikings are awesome. Beaulieu 6000 and 7008, they are top notch. Yes, somebody just made me an offer on, not made me an offer, sent me an eBay offer on a 6008, but I turned it down. I'm not really in the market yet. I would like to get I've never owned a Beaulieu camera, Super 8. I've had the R16 16mm, but not Super 8. Yeah, you do feel like a Viking in the camera store. Robert, hello, Robert. I have a few 70mm films. You know, Travis might be able to answer that question, Robert. I do not know. Travis, Robert says he has a few 70mm films, but heard they are really 65mm. Travis always is into that 70 and 65mm stuff. Is there a logical explanation for this? I do not know. Yeah, those Beaulieus are nice. Quick shout out to the Gaff ST802, circa 1972. My other Super 8 camera, and it usually goes for about $70 in good shape, maybe on eBay. Shoots great. I have a Gaff camera, and there is nothing wrong with Gaff cameras as long as they work. You know, here's the thing. There's not really a whole lot wrong with any camera if it works. The lens is obviously makes a lot more difference than the camera, but in reality, outside of that Bentley, you guys saw that video I did on my Bentley, outside of that with the plastic elements inside the lens, I mean, they all shoot film. They all open and close the, you know, the gate to expose a frame of film at a certain speed. And you know, the lens make a huge difference for the most part, but when you're talking about entry level or mid-level Super 8 and 16mm, anything in that middle lane, it's all going to perform very similarly. There you go. Thank you, Christian. 65mm is the camera format, 70mm are the theatrical prints because of the soundtracks. That makes a lot of sense. I'd love to have the 6008, Christian. I would like to have one of those. The 7008 Professional, those things are gorgeous. Gorgeous. God. Yeah, it is strange. I don't know. You'd think they would just make it I don't know. I don't know. Is it a print? I have 70mm frames. I know, I remember that. You have The Empire Strikes Back. Think that my town's museum has one of the Hasselblad cameras used on the Apollo. I know, you said that, Bonnie. That's crazy. Those things are nice. Some of the old cameras shot 70mm stills. 100mm series. the top of my head. I don't know what those are. That's about the size of 120 film, right? That's 65 or 70 millimeter. All right, processing this stuff. Let's get to this because we're wrapping up here. Like I said earlier, unless you process and scan everything yourself like I do and save yourself tons of money eventually once your equipment's paid off, which mine is long paid off, then you have to deal with processing and scanning companies. Hey, Rimjet, you're here. Processing. It's a huge, huge, huge range for processing and scanning. For 16 millimeter, for processing and scanning, expect to pay anywhere from, for a 100-foot roll, from $40 up to about $180 for a 100-foot roll. Yes, that is a scale that's really tipped weirdly big. $40 to $180. Okay, so on average, think $60 to $80 processed and scanned. On average, 100-foot roll of film. And that depends on, a lot of it depends on mainly the scanning, what resolution you want. If you want 720, expect to pay a lot less. If you want 6.5K, expect to pay a lot more. Pro 8 millimeter, who is probably the most well-known of the especially Super 8 formats, they're probably also one of the most expensive. Now, they've been around since the 70s, so they know what they're doing. I don't use them personally. Some people love them, some people don't. I can only tell you that they exist, and they are quite expensive. But expect $60 to $80 for just a normal process, normal scan, somewhere between 1080 and 4K, depending on the company. Super 8, expect to pay anywhere from $35 for process and scan, up to about $160 to process and scan, one 50-foot roll. Now, a 100-foot roll of 16 millimeter at 24 frames per second is going to go about 2.5 minutes, maybe a little longer. A 50-foot cart at 24 frames per second, you're going to go about the same. There's 72 frames a foot in Super 8. There's 40 frames per foot in 16 millimeter. Now, in a 16 millimeter roll, this roll has about 106 feet of film on it when you buy brand new from Kodak, because they like to give you a header and a leader and a footer, I should say. So if you're careful, you can use that little bit of extra film to your advantage. Average for Super 8, 50 to 75. Okay, so follow me on this. Super 8 average, 50 to 75 to process and scan. 50 to 75. 16 millimeter, 60 to 80 to process and scan. Average. I don't want you guys throwing darts at me. That's the average. Depends on where you're comfortable with, who you use, how big your resolution is, and this and that. But expect to pay somewhere around there. So all in, if you're using brand new stocks and you're averaging your processing out, all in, 2.5 to 3.25 minutes of Super 8 is going to cost you about $100 to buy the film, to get it processed, get it scanned, and get it back. For about 2 minutes and 45 seconds of 16 millimeter, all in, brand new stock, 100 feet, expect on average $130. 100, 130. Now you tell me, which would you rather use? Well, I love Super 8. I can't not say I don't love Super 8. You guys know I shoot tons of Super 8. About 60, 70% of my videos are Super 8. But 16 millimeter. I'd probably shoot more 16 millimeter if it was easier for me to process it. I really have been trying to hone my processing for 16 millimeter. I'm still getting mixed results. I get a lot of flashing and waviness and unevenness in my results. It's not easy when you do it yourself. So, but I enjoy it. And I shoot a lot of expired film. In fact, where's Dave? Dave Knopp. Oh, I pulled my desk. Doing this for Dave. So, I'm moving my whole desk here. Dave, where you at? There he is. This is in my desk also, Dave. I gotta move my coffee for this one. I was just talking about how I shoot and love to shoot film that's beyond its expiration date. That's two layers deep. That's 50D, all of it, except for the couple in the front. This is Vision 3 250D, along with that. And by the way, I've had this for a long time. I've probably had this 2 years. I like shooting film. This is awesome film for, in fact, I want to shoot one of these rolls. I have done some of this on my channel, but I want to shoot one of these in my Airflex or in my CP and send it off to get it professionally processed and scanned, just to get a real feel for how the film stock is. I bought this from a guy for $10 a roll. It's been a couple years though. He contacted me directly. I think he saw my channel. I don't remember where he was. I want to say Colorado. So put that back in there. So I love, the only purpose behind bringing this out was to just show you this is what I love to shoot. I love to shoot expired film. If I'm going to shoot brand new film like this, you know, brand spanking new direct from Kodak that I order, I'm going to have a hard time processing and scanning it myself. Like if I shoot a feature film on 16, it's going to be all professionally processed. I can't take that chance. So anyway, that is my fun film there. You guys know that 50D is my all-time favorite film. Boy, this is heavy. There's about 60 rolls in there, I think. I might be off a little. But I did buy 60 from him. I don't know how many I've shot. So with that, we know that it really isn't, it's negligent. It looks like you're kind of into this film stuff. Oh, I can always count on you, Dave. We can always, we always now, $100, $130, 100 on this hand, 130 on this hand. And if you get a modest camera, spend a couple $100 on a camera, is it really that big of a difference? Is there a big enough difference to justify only shooting Super 8? I'm not saying don't shoot Super 8 because I love Super 8 and I'm going to continue to shoot it all my life. Hey, Nisi! But what I'm trying to say is don't discount 16 millimeter. Don't discount it. What are we at? An hour and 10 minutes almost. Ooh, that's cold coffee. I want to see a comparison after everything's scanned. Does 16 millimeter really look that much different? You know, Dave, I did a video, and you'll be able to see what I mean by, you'll be able to see what I mean by when you process and scan your own film. It's not perfect, but I did do a comparison video where I used, I'm pretty sure, this camera versus the very inexpensive Bell & Howell 70D 16 millimeter. So I used the most high-end camera that I own for Super 8 versus 16 millimeter in my 70 DR. I think it's a DR. And I got to tell you, there just was no comparison still. Look that up. Oh, my wife heard me. I love you. Thank you.
Love you.
Look that up. I can't remember what the name of the video is, but I think it's expensive Super 8 versus inexpensive 16 millimeter, and you'll see the difference. What does it cost to develop your own Super 8 and your own 16? Watch that water. I'm going to tell you in 1 second exactly what it costs, Robert. As soon as Piper says hello.
Hello.
You love just jamming right in here, don't you? Hello, Ellie.
No, elephant bean.
Elephant bean. Okay, so what does it take? That's my other daughter waving. So what does it cost? Well, it cost me, I own a Movie Stuff Retro Scan Universal 2K scanner that I bought about 3 years ago. It's paid for itself. Thank you, darling. She's so awesome. She heard me say my coffee was cold, so she heated it up. I paid about $4,500 for the scanner with the upgrade. It was a 1080 scanner when I bought it. I paid about $4,500 all in with the 2K camera. I do have a 4K Movie Stuff Retro Scan Universal Mark II unit on order. I won't tell you how long it's been on order. Stop, Travis. But it has been on order for a long time, and that's all I'll say on that. Anyway, so about $4,500. It has at least double paid for itself. So that's, I don't pay anything for my scans anymore except for my time. Anytime I do ECN2, I mix my own ECN2 chemicals, and I did a video on that, and I did a cost breakdown, and it cost me a little under $7 to mix a 1 liter batch of ECN2. And then when you add the fixer in with that, probably about $7 total. So it cost me, you know, I mean, if you really factor everything, the electricity, the water I use, if you want to factor everything, it cost me less than $10 to process and scan a roll of my own film. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with the time it takes me to do it, because it does take quite a bit of time, especially the scanning. I'm very meticulous when it comes to scanning. Some people will just put the film on there, run it, export it, and be done. It takes me hours sometimes for one film to get it just the way I like it. With all this, okay. So anyway, I know. With black and white, by the way, that cost drops about half. I see some beautifully filmed and scanned 4K Super 8. Looks, yeah, Jeffrey, there's nothing like 4K. And I will admit, my scanner is not a professional scanner. It's a middle grade. It's a scanner that you would probably see in most normal, not low end, but most normal, like mom and pop video transfer companies and things like that do transfers for people. I don't know, even a lot of them use the Wolverine unit. So it's a, I'd say, middle of the road scanner. It is a 2K, it's only 8-bit, and my 4K scanner is supposed to only be 8-bit as well. I can deal with that. It's not a deal breaker for me for the price. So, also don't mean to damn Pro 8mm, but if they do processing only, they will not send it outside vendors for scanning. That translates to F you for not purchasing our overpriced scanning. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. They got to send it back to someone anyway. Why not send it? Unless it's liability, I don't know, but all the other companies apparently will do it. So, whew, I don't know. Pow Pow, how are you? 16mm looks better to me, but I have only found Super 8 cameras at inexpensive prices. Sorry, late to the show. Don't be sorry. Any time is good enough for me. Yeah, 16mm, there, by the way, there is no comparison. 16 and Super 8. I'd love to DIY develop, but I'm so confused. Don't be confused. Jump right in. If you want to truly start, try Super 8. And if you don't want to spend a couple $100 on a tank, try the bucket method. You know, you're going to scratch up your film a little bit, but at least you're having fun. I do this for fun. Ooh, I'm so far behind. Sorry, guys. Fixed. Doesn't sound as sexy as Remjet, though. I'm lost here. Non-working order and later. Get it fixed months later. Okay. True film, pretty small budget here. Hope there's a lot of jargon I don't understand. Do you need my address, Mike, so you can send me that back? How did I miss that? Yes, I'll get that from you later, Jeffrey. Oh, I think I'm caught up. Well, I'm caught up to there. Radio says, I hope there's not a lot of jargon I don't understand. No, it's not that hard. It's really not. If you can develop still film, you can develop movie film. What is your budget for a camera? Pow pow. Not a lot. Look at the Bauer. The Bauer cameras are nice for budgets. Pretty small film budget here. Yeah, I get the Rex 5. You lucky dog. I always thought remjet was a scientific term, but then I found out it just meant removal of jet, which, I know. I like the other term better. I like the scientific term. It sounds so much more Star Warsy. I wonder if you can put that in the scientific. I wonder if this sounds like in Latin. Try a simple old camera, just my opinion. Way better. That's not an opinion, Christian. That is the truth. 16 millimeter, there is not a lot of comparison. But Super 8 has its own unique style. There's a phenomenon behind it. There really is. So we'll get one with a non-working. You're gonna fix a month later. Yeah, at least you got it fixed. But if you remove remjet by thumb, it shouldn't be like remub. Rem thumb. Use the coffee to develop film. Then it would really be cheap. Nisi, I have used Caffeinol before, and it works great for black and white. 2 movie stars, Piper and the dog. Piper and the dog. Doesn't sound as sexy as remjet, though. No, it doesn't. What's that? Remlick. Steven, yeah, I've been waiting on it almost as long as you. I know. What can I say? It's one of those things where I really shouldn't say much about it. You know, I shouldn't talk too much about it. But saw some Kodak branded skis for sale at an auction back in February. How do you find that stuff, Bonnie? Did they have a lot of attitude? Yes, attitude. I can't keep up with your names. A jet calligram. There's a scientific name for remjet. By adding hose in there, which should be removal by jet hose. I agree. Get the Bauer. Yeah, that's your last name though. My last name is Tobin. No relation to Tobin. You know, you should just take it over though, Travis. Kodak puts its brand on random objects sometimes. Yes, it does. Yes, they do. I want some water. Okay, guys, listen. We have some people coming over, and it has been an hour and almost 20 minutes. And I've gone over, everything that I think I need to go over. And I'm ready for live stream number 19 here, which I'll be filling in this coming week. 16 millimeter versus Super 8. They're both beautiful formats. So is 8 millimeter, so is Super 16, so is Ultra 16, so is Max 8. There's all kinds of weird little formats within each format. But truth be told, pardon me, truth be told, 16 millimeter, I'm going to have to say it's probably the better value, more bang for your buck. The frame is almost 4 times bigger than a Super 8 frame, and the cost is not 4 times more. When you blow up Super 8 to fit a movie theater, which none of us are, but when you do, you're going to have some problems. When you blow up 16 millimeter to fit a movie theater, you're going to be glad you shot it in 16 millimeter. Or should I say a 72-inch big screen TV, which is what most of us are going to do. They never, okay. Kodak cereal would have been good, like little films you eat. Mike, I shot you an email to check out later. I will do that, Stephen. Thank you, sir. $35 for development, right? Yes, that's what I currently charge to process and scan Super 8 film cartridges. Yes, radios, that is exactly right. A couple extra bucks if you want me to send it back to you, which I'm sure you will. But we'll talk about that in your email. Barry, save all your notes in your notepad for your book. I am. And I am going to do a lookbook as well. A sort of a zine. Smash that like button. Thanks again, Mikey. Very informative. Thank you, Jeffrey. And everybody do what Jeffrey said. It only takes a second. That little thing down there, that, you know, I know there's some people watching that don't comment, and I like that. I have no problem with that. But if you would, on your way out, just click it. The Kodak brand is too bad. What is that? I missed that one, Bonnie. So they look at them as the Kodak's brand TV. I've never seen their TVs. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked again. I have to go. Kodak, stop, Travis. See you on the next go around, Cecil. Thank you, my good friend. Have a great week, Christian. You rolled in the TV. What about the video? You rolled in the TV. What about the video? Barry, pow pow, and thank you for the stream. Guys, thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Piper wants to jump in and say goodbye. She loves to pop in and say goodbye and hello, although she doesn't really talk much, do you? All right, guys. Until next time. Katie, thank you. Glad you could make it for this. Thanks a lot. Pale skin, pale skinny bones. Thank you. Rich, thank you. There you are. Hello, Piper. Bye, Mike and Piper. Say bye, Nisi.
Bye.
Goodbye, Stephen. Robert. All right, guys. Thank you to everybody. I really appreciate it. Bye, Bonnie. See you. I will see all of you next